There were several things that Cohen revealed. He said that Trump knew in advance that WikiLeaks planned to publish the hacked DNC emails, which Trump has totally denied. During the early part of the hearing, he sparred aggressively with these Republican evil fuckers who only question his credibility and motives for coming forward. You know, the example was made by one of the Democrats on the committee. When the U.S. government finally had a case against organized crime, against the Mafia, against the five families that were responsible for most of the crime in the United States, they finally had someone who was willing, on the inside, who was willing to talk. His name was Joe Bellacci. You old enough to remember that? I think it was in the 70s or 80s. And Bellacci was willing to tell everything he knew. Now, he was an admitted killer, a killer. He was an admitted gangster. He was an admitted perjurer. He was an admitted liar. He was an admitted criminal on any arsonist, every fucking level you can imagine. But every single question asked of Joe Bellacci was asked to get information out of him about the criminal enterprise of which he used to be a part. Not a single Republican or Democrat got all snotty and snazzy and arrogant the way they did today so far with Michael Cohen. It's only about 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in the East, so there's more of this coming. But I kept thinking about the Joe Bellacci thing, too. Here's a guy who had all the fucking inside information that the U.S. government needed to bust up the Mafia, to stop a crime wave. And the questions were about that. They didn't say, well, Mr. Bellacci, since you're a murderer, fuck you, anything you say is suspect. They didn't say that. They didn't say, since you're an arsonist, since you've been involved in beating people up, we're not going to listen to what you have to say. What they did was understand that Joe Bellacci had the information necessary to bust up this fucking crime enterprise, the Mafia. Michael Cohen has the information necessary to bust up this crime organization known as Trump Incorporated. So why are the Republicans not questioning him to get information rather than harassing him with all that extraneous bullshit? Everybody knows he's been sentenced to prison. He admits he lied to Congress the first go around. Joe Bellacci was a fucking murderer. Everybody knew that. The Republican Party has become an evil cabal of Christian fuckwads who care nothing about truth, science, justice, honesty, decency, morality, none of it. And as long as those sons of bitches are allowed into the governing circle of this country, we're fucked. Cohen also detailed how deeply and personally involved Trump was in the scheme to pay off the women who he had extramarital affairs with to keep that news out of the news so he could continue his scam to become president. Cohen described how he, like many in Trump's orbit, long sought to protect the president, but he made clear, quote, I'm not protecting Mr. Trump anymore. That's the other thing. Maybe it's because I've never been with even close to circles of real power. political power. Maybe there is some metamorphosis that these people go through. They go from being a butterfly to being a caterpillar, like a reverse thing. They go from being a flying, floating creature into being a fucking worm. I don't know what it is. I wish I did. Maybe that would help me understand, so I wouldn't use words like this filthy fucker and all this other stuff. But that's how I perceive them. Like I said the other day, I can't mince the words. I mean, when I do this podcast about these topics, whether it is priestly rape or Southern Baptist deceit or political bullshit like Jim Jordan and the rest of these Republicans, sorry, I'm going to say it the way I feel it. Cohen also suggested that federal prosecutors are investigating unspecified criminal allegations involving Trump that have not yet been made public. Trump is so fucking dirty. He really is. I mean, this is a mobster from the word go. God only knows what they're investigating on this son of a bitch. And if I know that, the Republican members of Congress know it to the 10th power beyond what I know. And yet they continue to try to deflect the accusations that he deserves. They try to hide his crimes. They try to destroy, in some cases literally, the witnesses who are going to testify against this pig. Why? Is it all about power? I mean, these elected representatives and senators, they've reached the apex of as high as they're going. They've reached a level they're not going to exceed. They're not going to go beyond being a representative from the 4th District of Ohio, like Jim Jordan. By the way, the 4th District of Ohio, I don't think there's a big city there. Napoleon, Ohio is out there, I think. It's mostly farms, very sparsely populated. The education level from the 4th District is embarrassingly low. But that's Ohio. And Jim Jordan just got reelected, which should speak volumes about the kind of people who live in rural northwestern Ohio. And they all claim to be God-fearing Christians. I can't get my mind around that, except to say the things I've said, that Christianity is a bucket of shit, and these people have made it even worse. About 2 o'clock this afternoon, which would have been, maybe an hour ago, Cohen had mentioned earlier in the day how American Media Inc. Chief Executive David Pecker, who also belongs in prison, paid off more people than just Stormy Daniels. The Daniels episode, Cohen told the person questioning him, was, quote, different from other times, end quote, which is why he took the matter straight to Trump. There were other circumstances, Cohen said, when Pecker would make their catch and kill transactions to silence stories that might hurt Trump. And, Cohen said, quote, not all of them had to do with women, end quote. This is what these unspecified criminal allegations against Trump are being investigated. Representative Peter Welch, a Democrat of Vermont, asked for examples. Cohen gave him a juicy one. A $15,000 payment to find out if an elevator operator knew anything about a story that Trump had a love child with an employee. Love child or bastard? What would you call it? Now, if it were a Democrat child born out of wedlock, the Republican Christians would call the child a bastard. Cohen referred to the child, who was imaginary, as a love child. See the difference? Cohen said he didn't know anything about it, but he said Pecker had buried so many stories that could look bad for Trump if they ever emerged. Cohen said, quote, "When David Pecker was looking to become CEO of Time magazine, we were concerned about the treasure trove of documents that he might leave behind, incriminating documents." Anyway, Cohen said, too, that no, there was no love child as far as he knew. And he said that Pecker paid $15,000 to a former Trump employee who claimed he had such knowledge. Again, the money was paid to kill the story. Now, you want to wonder what, or I wonder what happened to that former Trump employee who said he had that story and then got 15 grand. I wonder if he retained his arms and legs after that. Right around the same time, Cohen says he doesn't believe that Trump slapped his wife, Melania. He said that a tape, allegedly, in an elevator that shows Trump slapping Melania, he said, no, that doesn't exist. Various news outlets reported that in October 2016, a secret auction was held to purchase a tape that was said to contain footage of Trump striking or otherwise hurting his wife in an elevator. Cohen told the committee that, yeah, he was aware of the rumors of the tape, but he didn't believe it has ever existed. What's more, he said, he doesn't believe Trump ever hit or mistreated his wife. In response to questions from Representative Jackie Speer of California, Cohen said, quote, "I've heard about that tape for years. I don't believe that auction for the tape was real, and I don't believe that Mr. Trump ever struck Mrs. Trump, ever." End quote. He said that he was aware of 4 or 5 people who tried to buy the rumored tape, the purpose of which was to bury it so it never become public. But he said none were ever able to locate the tape, leading Cohen to believe it never existed. According to Cohen, Trump knew that that email dump of stolen emails from the DNC computer system, that the email dump was coming, and there is question as to whether or not Trump knew what it was, but he knew it was coming. Cohen related a meeting he had with Trump in mid-July 2016 in which Roger Stone told Trump over a speakerphone that he, Stone, quote, "just got off the phone with Julian Assange, and in a couple of days there's going to be a massive dump of emails that's going to significantly hurt the Clinton campaign," end quote. Now, Cohen said he wasn't sure if Trump knew the substance of those emails. But he added that Trump's longtime secretary, Rona Graff, would also have been aware of that phone call as she transferred it back to Trump's office. And that was the point where Cohen said Rona would say, "Mr. President, it's Roger on line 1. Cohen guessed that the meeting that he had with Trump when this phone call came in took place on July 18th or 19th. And then the first batch of emails was released by WikiLeaks just a few days later. Another question that kicked around the committee hearing room a few times today, because this is what these Republican evil fuckers do, was, hey, Michael, you wanted a White House job and you didn't get it, so now you're pissed off, right? I mean, that was the gist of what they were saying. Cohen has said repeatedly that he never wanted a job in this administration, and he was content to just serve as Trump's lawyer. The problem is federal prosecutors thought otherwise. And those words are on a display board prominently featured on the Republican side of the dais at this hearing today. Maybe you saw it. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York is quoted as saying this: Cohen expected to be given a prominent role and title in the new administration. When that did not materialize, Cohen found a way to monetize his relationship with the president. End quote. And then Jim Jordan, that crazy fucker from Ohio, asked Cohen repeatedly if he was accusing that U.S. attorney of lying. Cohen said no, but he also insisted that the federal attorney's statement was, quote, not accurate, end quote. Cohen said, quote, I did not want the role in the new administration. I got exactly the role that I wanted. There is no shame in being personal attorney to the president, end quote. I'm sure Cohen would like to go back and erase that. Cohen also said that Trump, quote, he speaks in code, and I understand the code, end quote. He talks like a goddamn fifth grader. No, I'm sorry. No offense to fifth graders. 5-year-olds, maybe. Okay, no offense to 5-year-olds either. And regarding the code, Cohen testified that while Trump never directed him outright to lie to Congress about a potential Trump Tower Moscow during the 2016 campaign, that Trump made his desires to Michael, as he does to everybody, through hints. Trump, being a gangster, he knows full fucking well not to say, I want this guy killed. A good mob boss says, you know, this guy needs to go on a nice long vacation maybe, huh? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.